Before we begin our journey into the Stone Age, from where are you listening to this story right now? Are you lying in bed, sitting quietly, or maybe even on a long walk? The Stone Age marks one of the most extraordinary chapters in human history, a time when our ancestors began shaping the world around them in ways that would set the stage for everything to come. It was an era defined not by cities, writing, or metal, but by the ingenuity, adaptability, and resilience of early humans. These were the first people to manipulate stone, to create tools that extended their capabilities, and to explore environments that were harsh, unpredictable, and often unforgiving. They left behind no written records, no monuments, yet the traces of their lives, tools, shelters, bones, and art, tell stories of survival, creativity, and transformation. At the dawn of the Stone Age, humans were still fundamentally connected to the rhythms of the natural world. They experienced the passing of seasons intimately, understanding the migrations of animals, the growth cycles of plants, and the patterns of weather. Life was dictated by the need to find food, water, and shelter, and by the necessity to avoid predators and environmental dangers. Humans were small in number, but they were learning to thrive in landscapes that demanded intelligence, cooperation, and observation. Every day required decisions about where to move, what to hunt or gather, how to use the environment to one's advantage, and how to work together as a group. The earliest humans relied on stone tools, not because they were abundant or convenient, but because they were transformative. Sharp edges allowed them to cut meat, scrape hides, and shape wood. Stone points could be attached to spears, enabling hunting at a distance and increasing safety. Over time, tools became increasingly sophisticated, reflecting experimentation, learning, and problem-solving. Every cut on a stone blade, every carefully shaped spear point represented an understanding of materials, geometry, and function. These early technologies were not static. They evolved as humans moved, adapted, and innovated, giving them the ability to exploit new environments and resources more effectively. The dawn of the Stone Age was also a time of profound social learning. Early humans lived in small, flexible groups, cooperating in hunting, gathering, and child-rearing. These communities were highly interdependent, relying on shared knowledge and collaboration to survive. Within each group, roles emerged based on skill, experience, and need. Some specialized in hunting, others in gathering, and still others in tool-making, shelter construction, or caring for the young. Cooperation extended beyond immediate survival tasks to include social bonding, communication, and ritual practices. Storytelling, song, and ritual helped transmit essential knowledge, encoding strategies for hunting, identifying edible plants, and avoiding hazards into memorable narratives.
Fire, one of humanity's earliest and most transformative discoveries, changed life profoundly. Controlled fire provided warmth in freezing climates, protection against predators, and the ability to cook food, unlocking nutrients and making a wider range of foods edible. Fire also extended the day, allowing humans to socialize, teach, and plan after dark. The mastery of fire required observation, experimentation, and careful handling, yet it became central to daily life, enhancing both survival and social cohesion. Around the hearth, early humans gathered, shared stories, and reinforced the bonds that allowed small groups to endure the challenges of their environments. The Stone Age was not a single uniform period. It encompassed a vast span of time during which humans adapted to countless landscapes, climates, and ecological niches. From icy tundras to dense forests, from river valleys to open savannas, humans learned to navigate, exploit, and sometimes even subtly manipulate their surroundings. Migration was common, and groups moved in response to changing food availability, seasonal patterns, or environmental pressures. Mobility was both a strategy for survival and a means of spreading innovation. Knowledge, tools, and cultural practices traveled with people, creating networks of information that spanned vast distances. Food acquisition was central to every decision, shaping movement, social structures, and technological innovation. Hunting large animals required coordination, patience, and a deep understanding of behavior and terrain. Tracking prey over long distances demanded observation, knowledge of patterns, and the ability to anticipate the unexpected. Gathering plants, fruits, seeds, and tubers required intimate familiarity with the landscape and the ability to distinguish safe and nutritious items from poisonous ones. Food storage, though primitive, became increasingly important as humans sought to survive periods of scarcity. Techniques like drying, smoking, or burying food provided security and stability, allowing communities to plan and thrive. The cognitive and social skills developed during this time were extraordinary. Humans learned to communicate complex ideas, to plan cooperatively, and to innovate under pressure. Problem solving extended beyond immediate survival to include the development of tools, strategies for hunting, and social solutions for cooperation and conflict. Children learned by observation, imitation, and participation, absorbing skills that were essential for survival. Elders taught practical knowledge, social norms, and cultural narratives, ensuring continuity across generations. Early humans were remarkably adept at combining technical skill, social intelligence, and environmental understanding to navigate a challenging world.
Even subtle aspects of the environment were significant. Knowledge of seasonal plant cycles, animal migration routes, water sources, and weather patterns could mean the difference between life and death. Humans became keen observers, reading tracks, listening to subtle environmental cues, and integrating these observations into daily decisions. They learned to anticipate changes, exploit opportunities, and avoid danger, demonstrating a capacity for foresight and adaptation that remains remarkable in its sophistication. Art and symbolism also began to emerge during this period. Though the Stone Age lacked written language, humans expressed themselves through cave paintings, carvings, jewelry, and other symbolic objects. These artifacts reveal not only aesthetic sensibility, but also the capacity for abstract thought, communication, and cultural cohesion. Representations of animals, humans, and mythological motifs conveyed information, reinforced social bonds, and provided frameworks for understanding the world. Symbolic expression was deeply intertwined with survival, education, and social identity, helping communities transmit knowledge and maintain cohesion across generations. The Stone Age was a time of constant learning, adaptation, and innovation. Every tool, fire, and social practice represented a solution to the challenges of life in a dynamic and often hostile world. Humans were not merely surviving, they were shaping their environments, developing technologies, and creating the social structures that would support more complex societies in the future. The traces they left behind, tools, shelters, fire pits, and art, tell a story of intelligence, creativity, and resilience. By examining this period, we begin to understand the remarkable journey of early humans. They were small in number, but they were capable of profound innovation. They transformed stone into tools, fire into warmth and protection, and social cooperation into a mechanism for survival. Every day of their lives involved learning, teaching, observing, and adapting, laying the groundwork for the eventual rise of agriculture, settlements, and civilization. The dawn of the Stone Age is not merely a distant past, it is the story of human ingenuity, the first chapters of our collective history, and the foundation of everything that followed.
Chapter 2: Life in the Ice and Forests. The environments that early humans inhabited during the Stone Age were vast, diverse, and often challenging, ranging from the icy expanses of the north to dense, shadowed forests and fertile river valleys. Life in these landscapes required adaptability, acute observation, and a profound understanding of the natural world. Each environment presented its own opportunities and threats, shaping the way humans moved, hunted, gathered, and ultimately survived. The Ice Age, which spanned much of the Stone Age, created formidable conditions for human survival. Glaciers covered large portions of the northern continents, leaving only narrow corridors of habitable land. Temperatures were extreme, with biting winds, snow, and ice challenging even the most resourceful groups. Humans had to learn to dress in layers of animal hides, furs, and woven materials to maintain warmth. The ability to control fire became not just advantageous, but essential, providing heat, protection, and the means to cook food that was otherwise difficult to digest. Fire also offered psychological comfort, a flickering symbol of safety in the vast, frozen landscapes. Despite the harshness of icy regions, humans found ways to exploit these environments. Large mammals, such as mammoths, reindeer, and bison, migrated across the frozen plains, providing abundant sources of meat, hides, bones, and antlers. Hunting these animals required skill, planning, and cooperation. Humans developed sophisticated strategies. They learned to track herds, anticipate migration routes, and coordinate group hunts. Tools evolved to meet these challenges, with specialized spear points, knives, and later throwing weapons. Knowledge about animal behavior, terrain, and seasonal patterns was crucial, and this knowledge was passed down orally from one generation to the next. Forests offered a completely different set of challenges and opportunities. Dense woodlands were rich in resources: edible plants, fruits, nuts, small game, birds, and water sources. But they also demanded vigilance, as predators such as wolves, bears, and big cats lurked among the trees. Humans adapted by becoming expert observers, learning to read tracks, listen for subtle sounds, and navigate through complex terrain. Forests provided materials for shelter, tools, and firewood, and also offered camouflage for both hunting and protection. Movement in forested areas was slower and required more careful planning, but the abundance of diverse resources balanced the risks. Rivers, lakes, and wetlands were crucial lifelines in both icy and forested landscapes. Water sources not only provided drinking water, but also attracted fish, waterfowl, and other animals. Humans developed techniques for fishing, trapping, and using simple nets or spears. Wetlands offered reeds for building, crafting, and even creating flotation devices. The presence of water influenced settlement patterns, as early humans often camped near rivers or lakes to take advantage of predictable resources. Seasonal flooding and changes in water levels required adaptability, teaching humans to read environmental signals and plan accordingly.
The rhythm of the seasons was central to life in these environments. Humans had to anticipate changes in temperature, daylight, plant growth, and animal migration. Seasonal movement was often necessary, as certain areas were only habitable or productive during specific months. Groups became adept at recognizing patterns, storing food when abundant, and preparing for periods of scarcity. This seasonal knowledge shaped social structures, with certain members becoming experts in tracking animal movements, identifying plant cycles, and planning group movements. Cooperation and communication were vital, ensuring that survival strategies were executed effectively. Shelter was a constant concern in both icy and forested regions. Humans used natural formations like caves and rock overhangs when available, supplementing them with constructed structures made from wood, bone, and hides. Temporary shelters were adapted to seasonal needs, providing warmth, protection from wind and rain, and safety from predators. The design of shelters reflected knowledge of materials, insulation, and structural stability. In icy regions, shelters were often semi-subterranean, using the insulating properties of snow or earth to maintain heat. In forests, simple frameworks covered with leaves, bark, or animal hides provided adequate protection while allowing mobility. The social dimension of life in these environments cannot be overstated. Survival depended on group cooperation, and early humans developed intricate social strategies to maintain cohesion. Hunting large game in icy plains or tracking small animals through dense forests required coordination and trust. Daily tasks were shared, from collecting food to maintaining fires, caring for children, and constructing shelters. Social bonds were reinforced through storytelling, rituals, and shared experiences. Knowledge about the environment, tools, and survival strategies was communicated collectively, ensuring that every member could contribute effectively. Humans also learned to manipulate and shape their surroundings to their advantage. In forests, clearing small areas improved access to plants or facilitated hunting. In icy landscapes, they constructed temporary corrals or enclosures to trap animals. The creation and use of tools extended beyond hunting and gathering to include preparing shelters, processing plants, and managing fire. Humans became active participants in their environment, learning not just to react to challenges, but to anticipate and shape them. This interaction between humans and nature was a defining feature of Stone Age life, demonstrating early ingenuity and adaptability.
Predators posed a constant threat, particularly in forests and on open plains. Humans learned to avoid danger through careful observation, the use of fire,
and the construction of defensive shelters. Group coordination during hunts or while traveling reduced vulnerability, and early warning systems such as lookout positions or sentries were sometimes employed. Knowledge of predator behavior combined with tactical thinking allowed humans to coexist with larger, more dangerous animals. These experiences not only ensured survival, but also contributed to social cohesion and the development of strategic thinking. Food security was a major concern, influenced by environment, climate, and seasonal availability. Humans learned to preserve food through drying, smoking, or freezing in icy regions. The storage of nuts, seeds, and roots helped buffer against scarcity, and the development of simple containers facilitated transport and preservation. The diversity of the environment meant that diet was varied, including meat, fish, fruits, nuts, roots, and occasionally insects or small animals. Adaptation to local ecological conditions influenced foraging strategies, hunting practices, and the overall diet, shaping health, growth, and social dynamics. The environment also influenced symbolic and cultural practices. Cave paintings, carvings, and decorative objects often depicted animals that were hunted, feared, or revered. These representations served multiple purposes: practical, educational, and spiritual. They reinforced knowledge of animal behavior, celebrated successful hunts, and perhaps invoked protection or guidance from unseen forces. The landscapes themselves, caves, rivers, forests, and mountains, became integral to early human cultural identity, influencing myth, ritual, and memory. Human adaptability in ice and forest environments demonstrates the remarkable capacity of early humans to survive and thrive in diverse and often harsh conditions. Observation, cooperation, innovation, and cultural transmission allowed them to exploit resources effectively, navigate risks, and maintain social cohesion. The interplay of environment, technology, social structures, and cultural practices created a dynamic and resilient lifestyle, one that laid the foundations for further developments in human history. Through a detailed understanding of their surroundings, humans transformed challenges into opportunities. They used stone tools to hunt and process food, fire to cook and stay warm, shelters to protect themselves, and social organization to coordinate survival strategies. Every action, from tracking game to collecting plants, from constructing shelters to passing on knowledge, reflected the complex interaction between humans and the environments of ice and forest. This deep connection to the land shaped not only physical survival, but also the emergence of culture, cooperation, and ingenuity. The forests and icy landscapes of the Stone Age were more than just settings. They were active participants in the lives of early humans. Their challenges fostered creativity, cooperation, and observation, while their resources enabled survival, experimentation, and innovation. By mastering these environments, early humans demonstrated the remarkable intelligence, flexibility, and foresight that would define our species. The lessons learned in these forests and icy plains about adaptation, strategy, collaboration, and cultural expression would echo through generations, forming the foundation for the complex societies that would follow. Chapter 3: Hunting, Gathering, and Early Diets. The survival of Stone Age humans depended fundamentally on their ability to obtain food, and this pursuit shaped nearly every aspect of their lives. Hunting and gathering were not simple tasks, but complex activities that required knowledge, skill, cooperation, and ingenuity. These early people were constantly observing, experimenting, and adapting to the rhythms of the natural world, learning to exploit a wide range of resources while minimizing risk. Every meal was the result of planning, technique, and intimate knowledge of plants, animals, and landscapes. And the methods humans developed in these early eras laid the groundwork for the rise of agriculture and settled life centuries later. Hunting was both a daily necessity and a sophisticated practice. Large animals such as mammoths, bison, deer, and reindeer provided meat, hides, bones, and antlers, forming the backbone of nutrition and material resources for many groups. But capturing these creatures was far from simple. It required understanding their behavior, anticipating movements, and coordinating group strategies. Humans learned to track animals over long distances, reading footprints, broken branches, and droppings to locate prey. They observed feeding patterns, migration routes, and seasonal behavior to predict where herds would be at the right time. Success depended not only on physical skill, but also on intelligence, planning, and communication within the group. Stone tools were essential for hunting. Early humans crafted spears, clubs, axes, and cutting implements from flint, obsidian, bone, and mud, designing them for specific purposes. Spear points were shaped to penetrate hide and muscle effectively, while scrapers and knives allowed for processing carcasses into meat, fat, and usable materials. Over time, humans developed increasingly specialized tools, including throwing sticks, atlatls, and eventually bows and arrows, which extended the range and efficiency of hunting. Each tool reflected experimentation, learning, and a deep understanding of materials, demonstrating the ingenuity that characterized Stone Age life. Group cooperation was critical during hunts. Coordinated strategies allowed humans to drive animals into traps, over cliffs, or into ambushes. Roles were divided according to skill, strength, and experience, with some individuals tracking prey, others positioning themselves strategically, and others delivering the final strike. These cooperative efforts required precise communication, trust, and timing. The success of a hunt did not just provide sustenance, it reinforced social bonds, taught younger members essential skills, and established patterns of shared labor that underpinned early community life.
Gathering supplemented hunting and was equally vital. Humans collected edible plants, fruits, nuts, seeds, tubers, and roots, often accounting for a significant portion of their diet. Foragers needed intimate knowledge of their environment, understanding which plants were nutritious, which were poisonous, and how to prepare or store them. Seasonal knowledge was critical, as certain plants could only be harvested at specific times of the year. This deep connection to the land required observation, memory, and experimentation, ensuring that communities could take advantage of every available resource. Food storage and preservation were developing practices that allowed early humans to survive periods of scarcity. Techniques included drying meat and fish, smoking, freezing in cold climates, and burying roots or nuts in insulated pits. These methods required planning, foresight, and an understanding of environmental conditions. By creating reserves, humans reduced the risk of starvation during harsh winters, droughts, or periods when hunting was less successful. The accumulation of surplus food also enabled groups to sustain larger populations, support social complexity, and experiment with new technologies or behaviors without immediate survival pressure. Dietary diversity was a hallmark of Stone Age nutrition. Humans adapted to local environments,
consuming a combination of meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. In coastal areas, shellfish, fish, and sea mammals supplemented terrestrial sources, while inland groups relied more heavily on game and wild plants. In forests, edible roots, berries, and small game were abundant, while open plains offered large herds and migratory animals. This diversity was not only crucial for survival, but also shaped social practices, as different foods required specialized tools, preparation methods, and coordination among group members. Fire played a central role in early diets. Cooking made food more digestible, unlocked additional nutrients, and reduced the risk of disease. Roasting meat, boiling roots, and baking plants over embers allowed humans to expand their diet and consume foods that might otherwise have been indigestible or toxic. Cooking also fostered social interaction, as communal meals became moments of learning, storytelling, and bonding. Around the hearth, knowledge about food, fire, and social norms was transmitted, strengthening both survival and culture simultaneously.
Foraging and hunting also required strategic mobility. Humans learned to follow animal migrations, move between seasonal camps, and exploit different ecological zones. This mobility influenced settlement patterns, social organization, and technology. Some groups became highly specialized in particular types of hunting or foraging, while others maintained a more generalized approach to survive variable conditions. Flexibility was essential, as environmental changes, climate fluctuations, and resource scarcity could dramatically alter the availability of food. Childhood and education were closely tied to food acquisition. Young humans participated in hunting simulations, gathering exercises, and food preparation from an early age. These activities were not only practical, but also deeply educational, teaching observation, patience, coordination, and cooperation. Elders and experienced hunters served as teachers, passing down knowledge about animal behavior, plant identification, tool use, and survival strategies. This process ensured that essential skills and knowledge were retained within the community, allowing continuity and adaptation across generations. The social and symbolic dimensions of food were also significant. Successful hunts were celebrated with rituals, storytelling, and shared feasts, reinforcing social cohesion and communal identity. Food sharing was both a practical necessity and a social contract, creating obligations, trust, and reciprocity within the group. Symbolic practices such as placing the first portion of a hunt aside for spirits or ancestors linked humans to the larger world, connecting daily survival with cultural and spiritual understanding. These practices reflect the deep integration of environment, sustenance, and culture in Stone Age life. Early humans also developed strategies to exploit specific resources over time. For instance, they learned to attract or trap animals, cultivate naturally abundant plants, and manipulate landscapes subtly to increase yields. Observing animal behavior enabled them to predict migrations, nesting patterns, and breeding cycles. Knowledge about plant growth and seasonal availability allowed for selective harvesting, ensuring sustainability and maximizing nutrition. These innovations represent the beginnings of agriculture and landscape management, laying the groundwork for later human settlements. The challenges of hunting and gathering demanded psychological as well as physical adaptation. Humans had to cope with uncertainty, scarcity, and danger, developing resilience, patience, and problem-solving skills. They learned to take calculated risks, plan for the future, and balance short-term needs with long-term strategies.
Social structures and cooperation mitigated stress, distributing risk and ensuring that knowledge and resources were shared. Communities became resilient not only because of their skills, but because of their ability to function together, supporting one another through the inherent challenges of daily survival. In essence, hunting, gathering, and early diets were more than mere survival strategies. They shaped technology, social organization, education, culture, and cognitive development. Every meal reflected observation, planning, skill, and social cooperation. Tools, fire, mobility, and knowledge of the environment enabled humans to extract nutrition from a diverse range of sources. Cooperation around food strengthened bonds, transmitted knowledge, and reinforced cultural identity. These practices laid the foundation for the eventual shift toward agriculture, permanent settlements, and the complex societies that would emerge thousands of years later. Stone Age humans were not passive recipients of the environment. They actively engaged with it, experimenting, observing, and innovating to secure sustenance. The mastery of hunting and gathering demonstrates intelligence, foresight, and adaptability. It illustrates how humans, in collaboration with one another and in harmony with their surroundings, transform challenges into opportunities. From icy plains to dense forests, from rivers to open savannas, the strategies developed to feed early humans reflect a profound understanding of the natural world, a capacity for social cooperation, and the ingenuity that defines our species even today.
Chapter 4: Tools, Fire, and Technology. One of the defining features of the Stone Age was the development and use of tools which extended human capabilities and transformed daily life. Stone tools were the hallmark of this era, but humans also used bone, wood, and other natural materials to craft implements that allowed them to hunt, gather, process food, and build shelters. These technologies were not static. They evolved over time as humans learned from experience, shared knowledge, and experimented with new techniques. The mastery of tools was deeply intertwined with social life, survival, and innovation. Early tools were remarkably diverse, designed for specific tasks such as cutting, scraping, piercing, and chopping. Flint and obsidian were shaped into sharp edges, while wooden shafts and bone handles improved leverage and precision. Spears, axes, knives, and scrapers were central to hunting and butchering animals, while smaller tools facilitated plant processing and hide preparation. Over time, techniques like flint knapping allowed for increasingly precise and efficient implements, reflecting a growing understanding of materials, geometry, and function. Fire was another transformative technology. Beyond warmth and protection, fire revolutionized food preparation, making meat and plants more digestible and unlocking previously inaccessible nutrients. It also extended the day, providing light for social interaction, teaching, and planning. The control of fire required observation, experimentation, and skill, but it became central to daily life, shaping both survival strategies and cultural practices. Communities gathered around hearths to cook, share meals, and transmit knowledge, making fire a focal point of social cohesion. Stone Age humans also innovated in constructing shelters and protective structures. Natural formations like caves were used when available, but humans built semi-permanent dwellings from wood, hides, and other materials.
These structures provided insulation, safety from predators, and a space for communal activities. Tool use was essential for construction, from cutting and shaping timber to fastening materials. The ability to manipulate the environment through technology was a crucial step in human adaptation, demonstrating foresight, planning, and ingenuity. Clothing and personal items were often produced using early technologies. Animal hides were softened, stitched, and shaped into garments to provide warmth and protection. Simple decorative items, such as beads and pendants, reflected aesthetic sensibilities and social signaling. Technology thus served both practical and cultural purposes, intertwining survival, identity, and social expression.
Stone Age technology was a continuous process of innovation and refinement. Tools were adapted to new environments, new prey, and changing social needs. Knowledge was transmitted orally, through demonstration, and by hands-on experience, ensuring continuity and improvement over generations. The integration of tools, fire, and construction techniques illustrates the deep relationship between humans, their skills, and the environment, revealing a species capable of foresight, creativity, and collaboration. The combination of tool-making, fire management, and environmental manipulation enabled early humans to exploit a broader range of resources than ever before. Hunting became more efficient, food processing more effective, and shelters more secure. These innovations also facilitated social learning, as individuals could teach and demonstrate complex skills to younger generations. Technology thus served as both a practical and educational tool, reinforcing cooperation and collective knowledge. In essence, tools, fire, and early technologies were more than mere instruments. They were extensions of human intelligence, creativity, and social cohesion. They allowed humans to overcome environmental challenges, expand their diets, construct shelters, and maintain complex social relationships. The innovations of the Stone Age laid the foundation for all future technological progress, illustrating the remarkable capacity of humans to observe, experiment, and transform their world.
Chapter 5: Social Life and Early Communities. The Stone Age was not only a story of survival and innovation, but also a story of social complexity. Early humans lived in small groups, often referred to as bands, which were essential for survival in challenging environments. These groups were highly interdependent, relying on cooperation, communication, and shared responsibilities. Every task, from hunting to gathering, constructing shelters to caring for children, depended on collaboration. Social bonds were strengthened through mutual support, storytelling, rituals, and the collective transmission of knowledge. Family and kinship formed the backbone of these communities. Relationships were based on shared ancestry, trust, and mutual dependence. Adults taught children essential skills, including tool-making, hunting, foraging, and navigation. Young members learned through observation, imitation, and participation, gradually acquiring the abilities necessary to contribute effectively to the group. Knowledge was not written, but embodied in practice, passed orally and experientially, ensuring that survival strategies endured across generations.
Roles within communities were often flexible, but tended to be organized around skills and experience. Some individuals specialized in hunting, others in gathering or crafting tools, while others focused on maintaining shelters, managing fire, or caring for the young. Leadership, when present, was usually informal and based on respect, experience, and ability rather than coercion. Decisions were often collective, particularly when they concerned group movements, hunting strategies, or conflict resolution. This social organization allowed early humans to operate effectively in dangerous and unpredictable environments. Cooperation extended beyond practical tasks. Storytelling, song, and ritual were vital to social cohesion. Tales of hunts, migrations, or encounters with predators conveyed practical knowledge while also fostering shared identity and cultural continuity. Rituals often marked seasonal changes, successful hunts, or life transitions, providing structure and meaning to daily life. Even in small bands, these practices reinforced bonds, ensured the transmission of knowledge, and helped maintain social stability.
Conflict management was another critical aspect of early social life. Disputes over food, space, or roles could arise, and groups developed strategies to resolve them without endangering collective survival. Tactics included negotiation, mediation, and sometimes temporary separation of conflicting individuals. The necessity of cooperation for survival fostered norms of fairness, sharing, and mutual respect, which became embedded in social behavior. Early communities were also dynamic. Bands moved in response to seasonal changes, resource availability, or environmental pressures. Migration required coordination, knowledge of terrain, and planning for food and shelter. Mobility influenced social structures, as individuals had to work together closely during travel and adapt to new landscapes. These movements allowed humans to spread knowledge, tools, and cultural practices, creating networks of interaction that extended across regions. The social life of the Stone Age also encompassed care for vulnerable members. Children, the elderly, and the injured were supported by the group, reflecting both practical necessity and emerging social responsibility. Shared labor and resource distribution allowed communities to endure challenges and sustain individuals who could not contribute immediately. This ethic of care strengthened social bonds and ensured the continuity of knowledge and skills. Ritual, art, and symbolic expression were tightly intertwined with social life. Cave paintings, carvings, and decorated tools were not only aesthetic, but also served to communicate ideas, commemorate events, and reinforce group identity. These practices helped coordinate social behavior, transmit cultural knowledge, and maintain cohesion within and between bands. Artistic expression was both practical and spiritual, linking humans to their environment and each other in profound ways.
Trade and exchange were emerging features in some Stone Age communities. While not widespread in all regions, some groups exchanged raw materials, tools, or symbolic items over distances. These interactions required communication, trust, and negotiation, extending social networks beyond immediate bands. Exchange reinforced alliances, spread innovations, and introduced new ideas, contributing to cultural and technological development. Ultimately, social life in the Stone Age was a delicate balance of cooperation, communication, and shared responsibility. Survival depended not only on individual skill, but also on the collective intelligence,
adaptability, and cohesion of the group. Through collaboration, knowledge transmission, and cultural practices, early humans created communities that could endure environmental challenges, navigate complex social dynamics, and lay the foundation for the more structured societies of the future. The story of Stone Age communities is a testament to the human capacity for connection, cooperation, and cultural creation. Even in small, mobile groups, humans cultivated social bonds, developed norms, and expressed themselves through ritual and art. These early communities were not static. They adapted, innovated, and expanded the possibilities of social life. Understanding their social structures provides insight into the fundamental human drive to collaborate, share, and create meaning, a drive that continues to shape our world today.
Chapter 6: Art, Symbols, and Early Beliefs. Alongside survival and social organization, the Stone Age was also a period of profound creativity and symbolic thought. Early humans began to express themselves not just through tools and technology, but through art, decoration, and ritual. These forms of expression reveal a mind capable of abstract thinking, imagination, and cultural sophistication. Even without writing or formal language, humans found ways to communicate ideas, beliefs, and emotions, creating a bridge between practical life and the emerging world of culture. Cave paintings are perhaps the most iconic evidence of early symbolic thought. Sites across Europe, Asia, and Africa display images of animals, human figures, handprints, and abstract patterns. These paintings were more than decorative. They carried meaning. They may have recorded successful hunts, served as teaching tools, or acted as spiritual or ritual expressions. The precision, composition, and persistence of these artworks indicate careful observation of the natural world and a deliberate attempt to convey information or intention across space and time. Carvings and sculptures, often made from bone, stone, or ivory, demonstrate similar creativity. Small figurines, sometimes depicting humans, animals, or hybrid forms, were likely used in rituals as talismans or as symbols of fertility and survival. These objects reflect not only technical skill, but also the ability to represent ideas symbolically, transforming raw materials into meaningful artifacts. The creation of such objects required planning, dexterity, and imagination, highlighting the cognitive sophistication of Stone Age people. Personal decoration, such as beads, pendants, and body paint, indicate early forms of identity, status, and social signaling. Wearing or displaying symbols may have served to distinguish individuals within a group, indicate achievements, or strengthen social bonds. This desire for self-expression reflects an awareness of social dynamics and an understanding of symbolism as a tool for communication. Even simple materials like shells, bones, or stones were transformed into objects of meaning, illustrating the human capacity to imbue the environment with cultural significance. Ritual and belief systems were closely tied to art and symbolism. Humans likely performed ceremonies connected to hunting success, seasonal cycles, or spiritual understanding of life and death. Sacred sites, ritual objects, and symbolic markings provided frameworks for communal practice, guiding behavior and reinforcing cohesion. These early belief systems were not uniform. They varied between groups and regions, reflecting different experiences, environmental pressures, and cultural evolution. Yet they share a common theme. Humans were seeking to understand and influence the world around them through symbolic thought.
Animals played a central role in Stone Age art and belief. Paintings of mammoths, bison, horses, and deer suggest not only practical knowledge, but also reverence or fascination. These animals were essential for survival, yet their representation in art may also reflect a desire to connect spiritually or ritually with the forces of nature. Humans demonstrated an awareness of cause and effect, perhaps believing that depicting an animal could influence hunting success or maintain harmony with the natural world. Abstract symbols and geometric patterns also appear in many Stone Age contexts. Lines, dots, spirals, and handprints may have represented counting, mapping, or spiritual concepts. The creation and use of such symbols indicate that early humans were capable of abstract thinking, categorization, and intentional communication. This symbolic behavior reflects a cognitive complexity that goes beyond immediate survival, pointing toward the development of culture, memory, and shared understanding. Art and ritual were not only cognitive exercises, they were social tools. Group participation in painting, carving, or ceremonial activities strengthened social cohesion, taught younger members essential skills, and reinforced shared beliefs. These practices created a sense of identity and continuity, connecting individuals to one another and to the natural and spiritual world. Cultural transmission through art and ritual ensured that knowledge, values, and traditions endured across generations, shaping the foundation of later societies. Belief systems also influence daily life and survival strategies. Humans may have invoked protective spirits, sought guidance from ancestors, or performed rituals to ensure fertility, successful hunts, or safe passage. These practices reinforced social norms, provided structure, and reduced uncertainty in an unpredictable world. By integrating spiritual understanding with practical knowledge, humans created a holistic framework for interpreting and interacting with their environment. The emergence of art, symbols, and early beliefs during the Stone Age demonstrates the remarkable creativity and intellectual capacity of early humans. They were not simply passive survivors, but active interpreters of their world, capable of abstract thought, social organization, and cultural expression. Through visual, symbolic, and ritual forms, they communicated knowledge, reinforced identity, and connected with forces beyond immediate perception. These developments laid the groundwork for the complex spiritual, cultural, and artistic systems that would later define human civilization. In essence, Stone Age humans lived in a world where survival, innovation, and creativity were intertwined. Tools and fire ensured sustenance and protection, while art, ritual, and symbolic thinking nurtured identity, knowledge, and social cohesion. The images on cave walls, the carvings in bone, and the jewelry worn on the body testify to a species capable of imagination, reflection, and meaning-making. These expressions remind us that even in the most ancient and challenging environments, humans sought not only to endure, but to understand, to communicate, and to create. A timeless legacy that continues to inspire and connect us to our earliest ancestors.
Chapter 7: Migration and Interaction. Stone Age humans were not static inhabitants of their landscapes. Mobility was a defining feature of their lives, driven by the need for food, safety, and opportunity. Migration was both a survival strategy and a driver of cultural evolution. By moving across diverse environments, plains, forests, rivers, and mountains, Early humans encountered new resources, climates, and challenges. These journeys required careful planning, cooperation, and knowledge of terrain, weather, and animal behavior. Migration also facilitated interaction between groups, allowing the exchange of ideas, tools, and cultural practices that strengthened survival and innovation. Seasonal migration was common, as humans followed the movements of animals, the cycles of plant growth, or the patterns of weather. Certain areas were only viable during particular times of the year. Rivers could flood, forests could become impassable, and open plains could turn inhospitable in winter. Groups needed to anticipate these changes, plan routes, and carry essential supplies, ensuring both safety and sustenance. Knowledge of distant lands, stored in the collective memory of the group, became a crucial survival tool, allowing humans to navigate vast and unpredictable landscapes. Human migration was not purely practical, it also shaped social and cultural landscapes. Moving groups encountered other bands, leading to interaction, cooperation, and sometimes conflict. These encounters allowed for the exchange of tools, techniques, and ideas, spreading innovation across regions. A new method of making stone tools, a hunting strategy, or a ritual practice could travel hundreds of miles, influencing distant communities. Interaction strengthened survival networks, creating connections that extended beyond immediate territories and forming the foundations of early social networks. Trade and resource exchange were often part of these interactions. While early humans did not have permanent settlements in most areas, they recognized the value of certain materials, flint, obsidian, shells, or pigments, and transported them over long distances. These exchanges required trust, negotiation, and mutual benefit, highlighting the early development of social intelligence and diplomacy. Material culture became a vector for knowledge and influence, reinforcing bonds between groups and allowing the spread of both practical and symbolic innovations. Migration also influenced technological adaptation. As humans moved into new climates, they modified tools, clothing, and shelters to suit local conditions. Techniques effective in forests might be unsuitable for open plains, while strategies for icy regions required different approaches altogether. Human ingenuity was continuously tested, and groups adapted through observation, trial, and collaboration. Mobility fostered a flexible mindset, reinforcing problem-solving abilities and encouraging creativity in response to changing environments.
Interaction between groups extended beyond material exchange. Cultural and symbolic practices, such as art, ritual, and storytelling, could also travel with migrating populations. Cave paintings, carvings, and ceremonial objects spread ideas, beliefs, and techniques across regions. This sharing of knowledge reinforced group identity and facilitated learning, allowing innovations to propagate and endure even in challenging conditions. Social interaction, therefore, was both practical and cultural, influencing survival strategies as well as cognitive and symbolic development. Challenges were inherent in migration. Moving through unfamiliar or hostile territory posed risks from predators, harsh weather, and competition for resources. Groups needed to manage conflict, maintain cohesion, and ensure that knowledge was effectively communicated to all members. Leadership, whether informal or situational, was essential to coordinate movement, allocate tasks, and make decisions that affected the entire group. These skills strengthened social structures, fostering cooperation, resilience, and collective intelligence. Children and young members of the group played an important role in learning during migration. They observed travel patterns, learned navigation skills, and participated in daily survival activities. Migration offered an education in environmental awareness, resource management, and social cooperation. By participating in these journeys, young humans absorbed the experience and knowledge necessary to ensure the continuity of skills and traditions across generations. The natural landscape was both a challenge and a guide. Rivers, mountain passes, coastlines, and forests shaped migration routes. Humans developed ways to read terrain, predict seasonal conditions, and identify safe paths. Landmarks, star patterns, and environmental cues were integrated into collective knowledge, forming a cognitive map that allowed groups to traverse vast distances with surprising accuracy. The ability to navigate effectively contributed to survival, cultural transmission, and the expansion of human presence across continents. Migration and interaction also influenced genetic diversity and adaptation. As groups intermingled, they exchanged not only ideas and tools, but also biological material, ensuring healthier, more resilient populations. The movement of humans across regions allowed for the spread of advantageous traits, enabling populations to adapt to diverse climates and ecological pressures. This biological and cultural exchange reinforced the connection between mobility, interaction, and the enduring legacy of human ingenuity. Migration and interaction were not merely responses to environmental pressures, they were engines of human development. By moving across landscapes, connecting with other groups, and exchanging knowledge, early humans expanded their survival strategies, enhanced their technological skills, and developed social and cultural sophistication. These dynamic processes laid the groundwork for more permanent settlements, agricultural experimentation, and the complex societies that would emerge in later periods. Stone Age migration and interaction reveal a species capable of remarkable intelligence, adaptability, and foresight. Humans were able to read the environment, anticipate change, coordinate socially, and transmit knowledge across generations and distances. They were explorers, learners, and innovators, turning movement into opportunity. Every journey, encounter, and exchange shaped the trajectory of human history, reinforcing the essential link between mobility, interaction, and the enduring legacy of human ingenuity.
Chapter 8: The Changing Environment and Human Adaptation. The Stone Age was a period marked by constant environmental change. Glaciers advanced and retreated, rivers shifted course, forests expanded or contracted, and climates fluctuated unpredictably. These transformations forced early humans to continually adapt, shaping not only their survival strategies, but also their technologies, social structures, and cultural practices. Adaptation was not merely a reaction to environmental pressures. It became a driver of innovation, cooperation, and the expansion of human influence across diverse landscapes. Humans responded to changing environments in multiple ways. Migration was often the first response, as groups moved to follow animal migrations, access seasonal plant resources, or escape harsh conditions. Mobility required knowledge of terrain, weather patterns, and resource distribution, making observation and memory vital skills. The ability to anticipate environmental change allowed humans to plan routes, store resources, and allocate tasks effectively, ensuring survival even in unpredictable conditions. Technological innovation was central to adaptation.
As climates shifted, humans modified tools, shelters, and clothing to meet new challenges. In colder regions, heavier clothing made from multiple layers of animal hides was developed, while in warmer areas, lighter materials and ventilation techniques were utilized. Shelters were adapted to resist wind, snow, or rain, often incorporating natural features like caves, rocks, or earth mounds. Fire continued to play a crucial role, not only for warmth and cooking, but also for managing landscapes through controlled burns, signaling, and protection from predators. Environmental change also influenced diet and food acquisition. Humans learned to exploit new food sources, identify previously unknown plants and animals, and develop preservation techniques. Storage and caching became increasingly sophisticated, allowing groups to buffer against scarcity. Knowledge of local ecology, seasonal cycles, animal behavior, and plant growth enabled communities to adjust their foraging and hunting strategies. Adaptability in diet ensured resilience in the face of environmental fluctuations, sustaining populations across varied and sometimes harsh regions. Social organization evolved in response to environmental pressures. Cooperation became increasingly critical when resources were scarce or landscapes were challenging. Groups shared knowledge about safe routes, food locations, and survival strategies, while collective decision-making allowed for coordinated movement and resource allocation. Roles within groups were often dynamic, with individuals taking on tasks according to skill, experience, or immediate necessity. This social flexibility enhanced the capacity to respond to changing conditions, reinforcing cohesion and resilience. Humans also developed strategies to manipulate their environments. They cleared areas for camps, created traps for animals, and used controlled fire to manage vegetation or drive prey.
Observing the effects of environmental interventions allowed early humans to refine techniques and anticipate outcomes, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of cause and effect. By shaping their surroundings, humans were not merely surviving, they were actively influencing the landscapes they inhabited. Cognitive and cultural adaptation were equally important. Humans created mental maps of resources, migration routes, and environmental patterns, passing this knowledge through storytelling, teaching, and ritual. Art and symbolism reflected changing relationships with the environment, commemorating events, expressing reverence for natural forces, and encoding survival knowledge. These cultural tools complemented practical skills, enhancing both understanding and communication across generations. Predators, disease, and natural hazards continued to shape human adaptation. Humans learned to detect and avoid predators, manage injuries, and cope with illness using both practical measures and emerging symbolic practices. Environmental threats required vigilance, flexibility, and cooperation, reinforcing the importance of knowledge sharing and social bonds. Adaptation was therefore holistic, encompassing physical, cognitive, social, and cultural dimensions. Environmental changes over the Stone Age also encouraged experimentation and innovation. Different groups responded to similar challenges in diverse ways, creating a variety of technological and social solutions. Some developed specialized hunting techniques, while others devised methods for food storage or shelter construction. These innovations were shared through interaction, migration, and observation,
spreading knowledge across regions and contributing to collective resilience. Ultimately, adaptation to the changing environment was a defining characteristic of Stone Age life. Humans demonstrated remarkable ingenuity, flexibility, and foresight, turning environmental challenges into opportunities for learning, innovation, and social cohesion. Through adaptation, early humans developed the skills, knowledge, and social structures necessary for long-term survival. The ability to navigate changing climates, exploit new resources, and cooperate in complex ways laid the foundation for later developments in agriculture, settlement, and civilization. Stone Age humans were shaped by their environment, but they also shaped it in return, demonstrating a dynamic relationship between people and the world around them, a relationship that would continue to define the course of human history.
Chapter 9: Challenges and Survival Strategies. Life in the Stone Age was defined by constant challenges, from extreme weather and scarce resources to predators and disease. Survival required not only physical strength, but also intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. Every day demanded problem-solving and decision-making, and humans had to balance risk and reward while ensuring the well-being of the group. The strategies they developed to meet these challenges illustrate a combination of ingenuity, resilience, and social cohesion that shaped the trajectory of human evolution. Environmental challenges were constant. Seasonal fluctuations could bring harsh winters or scorching summers, flooding, droughts, or storms. Humans had to understand and anticipate these changes, adjusting movement, food gathering, and shelter accordingly. Knowledge of weather patterns, animal behavior, and plant cycles allowed groups to plan ahead, storing food, preparing clothing, and constructing adequate shelters. This predictive ability was critical for survival, as failure to anticipate environmental shifts could lead to scarcity or exposure to danger. Predators posed a continual threat. Large mammals, wolves, and other carnivores competed for food and occasionally attacked humans. To counter these dangers, Stone Age humans developed strategies that combined observation, tools, and cooperation. Fire provided a defensive barrier, while sharpened weapons enabled hunting and protection. Groups worked together to establish watch systems, maintain safe camps, and coordinate hunting in ways that minimized risk. Knowledge of predator behavior was shared and passed down, creating a cultural understanding of safety and vigilance. Scarcity of food was another major challenge. Early humans relied on hunting, fishing, and gathering, but these sources could be unpredictable. Strategies to cope with scarcity included seasonal migration, careful resource management, and storage techniques. Dried meat, smoked fish, and buried roots or seeds allowed communities to survive periods when fresh food was unavailable. Cooperation was essential, as sharing food and labor ensured that all members of the group could endure lean periods. These practices strengthened social bonds while enhancing survival prospects. Health challenges, including injury and disease, were also constant threats. Stone Age humans had to care for wounds, prevent infections, and adapt to physical limitations. Knowledge of medicinal plants, first aid techniques, and safe practices was transmitted through experience and teaching. The care of sick or injured members demonstrated both practical intelligence and social responsibility,
ensuring that critical knowledge and skills were preserved and that group cohesion remained intact.
Social challenges were intertwined with environmental pressures. Groups needed to maintain cohesion, resolve disputes, and coordinate activities for survival. Leadership was often informal, based on respect, experience, and ability. Communication, negotiation, and social learning were vital tools, enabling groups to function effectively in high-stakes situations. Cooperation allowed for shared risk, efficient resource use, and the development of collective strategies for overcoming challenges. Technological innovation was a key survival strategy. Humans continuously improved tools, shelters, clothing, and hunting techniques to meet environmental demands. Spears, knives, scrapers, and other implements allowed more effective hunting and food preparation. Shelters evolved to withstand extreme weather, while fire provided warmth, protection, and a means to process food. Innovation was closely linked to observation and experimentation, demonstrating the remarkable problem-solving abilities of early humans. Cultural strategies also played a role in survival. Rituals, symbolic practices, and art reinforced social cohesion, transmitted critical knowledge, and provided frameworks for interpreting the environment. Storytelling conveyed survival strategies, ecological understanding, and moral lessons, ensuring that valuable information persisted across generations. Cultural practices complemented practical strategies, creating a holistic approach to survival that integrated physical, social, and cognitive skills. Adaptation to challenges was a continuous process. Humans learned from mistakes, observed outcomes, and refined strategies over time. Each success or failure informed the next decision, contributing to a growing body of collective knowledge. This iterative process of learning and innovation allowed humans to survive in diverse and unpredictable environments, from icy tundras to dense forests and arid plains. Ultimately, the challenges of the Stone Age shaped the human species in profound ways. They fostered intelligence, social cooperation, innovation, and resilience. The strategies developed to survive, whether technological, cultural, or social, reflect a species capable of remarkable foresight, creativity, and adaptability. By understanding these challenges and the responses to them, we gain insight into the foundation of human development, the emergence of complex societies, and the enduring human drive to overcome adversity. Stone Age humans were defined not merely by their environment, but by how they engaged with it. Their survival depended on careful observation, planning, collaboration, and the ability to innovate under pressure. Challenges were not obstacles alone. They were catalysts for creativity, problem-solving, and social cohesion. The legacy of these survival strategies continues to inform our understanding of human intelligence, adaptability, and the profound relationship between people and the world around them.
Chapter 10: Legacy and Lessons. The Stone Age, stretching across tens of thousands of years, left a lasting legacy that continues to shape human history, culture, and understanding. While early humans lived in environments that were often harsh and unpredictable, their ingenuity, adaptability, and social organization allowed them to thrive. The tools they created, the strategies they developed, the communities they built, and the symbols they crafted were more than responses to immediate survival. They were the foundations of the complex societies that would eventually emerge. One of the most enduring legacies of the Stone Age
is the mastery of tools and technology. The innovations in stone, bone, and wood demonstrate the human capacity for problem-solving, creativity, and foresight. Early humans were not passive observers of their world. They actively shaped it to meet their needs. Every spear, scraper, or shelter represents a story of experimentation, learning, and adaptation. These technologies were cumulative, with knowledge passed from one generation to the next, creating a continuous lineage of human innovation that eventually led to metallurgy, agriculture, and modern engineering. Fire, another cornerstone of Stone Age life, symbolizes human ingenuity and control over nature. Its management extended beyond warmth and cooking. It enabled protection, social cohesion, and cultural expression. Fire became central to communal life, around which humans shared meals, stories, and rituals. It exemplifies the ability of humans to transform the environment to suit their needs, illustrating both practical intelligence and symbolic significance. Social structures and cooperation are equally important aspects of Stone Age legacy. Humans learned that survival depended on collaboration, shared knowledge, and collective effort. Early communities developed norms, roles, and strategies that balanced individual skill with group needs. These social structures facilitated hunting, gathering, migration, and care for vulnerable members, demonstrating that cooperation was as critical as individual ability. The social bonds forged in small bands laid the foundation for larger societies, political organization, and enduring human networks. Art, symbolism, and early beliefs reveal another dimension of this legacy. Cave paintings, carvings, personal decorations, and ritual objects were expressions of thought, observation, and imagination. They illustrate the human drive to interpret the world, communicate abstract ideas, and create meaning beyond immediate survival. These cultural practices fostered identity, transmitted knowledge, and reinforced social cohesion. The symbolic capacities of early humans are the precursors to language, writing, and the complex spiritual and cultural systems of later civilizations.
Adaptation to changing environments shaped human resilience and creativity. Humans survived in icy plains, dense forests, river valleys, and arid regions by observing, experimenting, and learning from experience. Migration, mobility, and interaction with other groups allowed them to expand knowledge, exchange innovations, and enhance survival strategies. These experiences reinforced flexibility, ingenuity, and cognitive development, demonstrating a species capable of thriving under diverse and unpredictable conditions. The challenges faced during the Stone Age also fostered critical survival strategies that resonate through human history. Problem-solving, foresight, cooperation, and innovation were developed in response to scarcity, predators, and environmental change. Cultural knowledge passed through storytelling, art, and ritual complemented practical skills, creating holistic approaches to life and survival. Early humans demonstrated the capacity to turn adversity into opportunity, shaping their world while ensuring the continuity of knowledge,
culture, and community. Even in their daily routines, hunting, gathering, making tools, tending fire, or caring for each other, Stone Age humans exhibited intelligence, creativity, and social awareness. These qualities allowed them to leave a lasting impact, not just biologically, but culturally. Modern humans inherit this legacy in countless ways: the ability to innovate, adapt to new environments, cooperate in complex societies, and create meaning through art, ritual, and culture. In reflection, the Stone Age was more than a period of survival. It was a period of foundation building. Every decision, invention, and social interaction contributed to the trajectory of humanity. The lessons from this era remind us that human resilience, creativity, and social cohesion have always been intertwined with our environment. By studying the lives, strategies, and innovations of early humans, we gain insight into the origins of civilization and the enduring qualities that define our species. Stone Age humans were remarkable not only for what they achieved, but for how they achieved it, through observation, cooperation, ingenuity, and a deep connection to the natural world. Their legacy is the story of human potential, showing how survival, culture, and innovation coalesced to lay the foundation for everything that followed. From the flicker of the first fires to the carvings on cave walls, the lessons of the Stone Age continued to illuminate the path of humanity, inspiring reflection, wonder, and understanding of the intricate relationship between people, culture, and the world they inhabit.